Hi, I'm Marissa. I'm one of the co-hosts of Booktalks podcast, and this is Reading with Riss. Ding, ding, ding! November Book of the Month just dropped. If you want to skip right to them, skip here. I have some thoughts about them. I mean, I'm getting this video up just a little late. It is October 31st, and the November books just dropped, but I'm getting it up a little late because full day of work. But I have some thoughts, so we will get into that. If you're new to Book of the Month, it is a book subscription service. They read and review books, and then they select 5 to 7 books for you to choose from. You get a hardcover book for as low as $16.99, I want to say the subscription is, and then you can add on additional hardcover selections for $10 a piece. I do not have any kind of like affiliation with Book of the Month, but if you want to use my affiliate code, referral code, it's not an affiliate code, I'm not affiliated. If you want to use my referral code, I think you may get like $5 off your first box or something. I don't know. It's in the link in my description. If you can find a better deal elsewhere, take it, because I don't even know if you get $5 off, to be completely honest. So without further ado, let's get into the November Book of the Month. From what I can tell, we started off strong. This is The Road of Bones by Demi Winters. I'm not on TikTok anymore, Book Talk. There are a lot of reasons for that. I could make a whole video about it, mostly just mental health wise, and the vibes on Book Talk are kind of Mean Girl-esque. So I'm not really on Book Talk, but I do know that this is a Book Talk sensation kind of book. It is fantasy. It says it is a debut book. However, that's not true because it has been out for at least a year. It was self-published by Demi Winters, and she has now been picked up by a publisher. So even though it says debut, you may have already read this one. It's not really debut, and it is the first in a series. The quick take says, grab your cape and hop on the Viking mercenary wagon. We're hitting the creature-infested, killer-filled Road of Bones. It is 400 plus pages, the first in a series, has multiple viewpoints, and is salacious. Interestingly enough, when I pulled it up on Goodreads, it said it had like 20 reviews. And I was like, Book Talk sensation, what? How does this only have 20 reviews? But apparently there's a duplicate copy of it. I don't know if this was the one from her self-published days, but as you can see from the updated Goodreads listing, it has like 11,000 reviews. And people really seem to like it. If I was picking one this month, this probably would be my pick. It says it's salacious, but the cover is giving young adult vibes. So I don't really know. Since it's a Book Talk sensation, I'm personally probably gonna stay away because I have not had good luck with some of the Book Talk sensations. If they're for you, they're for you. They just haven't so far been for me. So I'm probably gonna skip it, but if I were getting one this month, I think it would be that one. Moving on. We have in the category of literary fiction, Dirty Diana by Jen Besser and Shana Feste. Debut. Quick take. An intimate, provocative look at desire, art, and unfulfilled fantasy through the lens of one woman's waning marriage. It is feminist, has marriage issues, a non-linear timeline, and is extra spicy. My goodness. And the cover indeed looks extra spicy. Next up, I saw this one was going to be a lot of people's picks, and when I didn't know what it was about and thought it was fiction or maybe thriller or maybe even romance, I was interested in it. However, it is memoir, it is Dinner for Vampires, it is also a debut novel by Bethany Joy Lenz. The quick take says, you won't be the same after this candid behind-the-scenes look at the One Tree Hill star's experience surviving a cult. It has family drama, also has marriage issues, it's buzzy, and it is a coming-of-age story. I am one of the few people I feel like on this earth who did not watch One Tree Hill. I always wanted to, but I wasn't allowed to watch those kinds of shows growing up, and I've still always wanted to. But looking at the cover of this girl, I literally don't recognize her from the promo pictures, and I get it. It's been years since that show came out. I don't know who that woman is. But I may be missing something. Again, I haven't seen it, but Dinner for Vampires is a memoir, which I'm a little disappointed by. I thought it would be like, fiction, maybe thriller, maybe romance, maybe fantasy, and I was gonna choose it, but it's not. So sad because I don't really read memoirs. Maybe I should, but I don't. Moving on. We have, thankfully, a romance for those of you who love. This is called P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Connoly. And it is early release. And it doesn't say Lauren Connoly's a repeat author, but I have definitely heard that name in the romance community. I don't know if I've heard good things or bad things, but I've heard that name in the romance community. The quick take says, to honor her late brother's wish, a woman must road trip with a former flame turned sworn enemy. Cue all the feelings. It is emotional, it is salacious, it is 400 plus pages, and it is a road trip. I'm glad they put a romance in here, and no, you know what? I haven't heard. I thought this was the one that I heard was like a 5-star read, and it may be, but this is not the one I was thinking of. However, it is early release, so if you want to get it, before it comes out, there you go. And last but not least, also in the category of fantasy, I have some thoughts. Anyway, this is The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong. It is another debut. I actually think were all 5 of these listed as debut? No, P.S. I Hate You was not listed as debut. However, this is another debut novel, and the cover on this looks fantastic. It says, in this magical story, a group of lovable misfits look for their place in this world and discover it with each other. It is LGBTQ plus themes, it is a quest, it is magical, and it is cozy. And it was also a pick for Fairy Loot. So if you got the most recent Fairy Loot adult box, I believe this was in the adult box, I'll put it right here. If you got the most recent Fairy Loot adult box, this was in that. Which is interesting because the cover looks very young adult. When I saw this pop up, it actually reminded me a lot of books I read in middle school, maybe to high school. But specifically, I was thinking of that book Inkheart by Cornelia Funk. It's giving like circus vibes, misfits coming together. Obviously, it says it's about misfits coming together, but it was in the adult Fairy Loot box, so I don't think it's for young adults, but just as a little FYI. They only gave us 5 selections this month, and then they said if you're not into any of those books, you can choose one of the previous favorites. The ones they listed, at least one of them I've read, A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham. I personally would not recommend that one. It's a book of the month finalist. My goodness, I was in the minority on that one. We actually did a podcast episode on that. Oh my gosh, me and Kayla did a podcast episode on that. I will link that either, here or in the description below. But A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham. And we actually got that from the publisher, and I think it was fine. I might have given it 3 stars, but it wasn't like knock your socks off kind of book. They also have Evil Eye by Etaf Rum, The Collective by Alison, Gaylin, Kill for Me, Kill for You by Steve Cavanagh, which I actually want to read that. That's on my TBR, but I'm not sure if it has the best reviews, but I do want to read it. And then a literary fiction choice, Infinite Country by Patricia, Engel. So if you weren't into the 5 picks, you can choose a member fave, and those were the member faves. I haven't previously gone over the audiobook selections because I knew Book of the Month launched audiobooks, as you can choose them. I just have never gone over them because I didn't really realize like people were doing that. I don't know why it didn't click for me that if I'm spoiling the hardcovers, I should spoil the audiobooks as well. But I'll just run through them very quickly because at least one of them's a repeat. For the audiobooks, you can choose the memoir Dinner for Vampires. Again, debut. It's performed by the author, which makes sense because she was in One Tree Hill, so she's an actress. The next one is fantasy, and this one sounds pretty good. The Courting of Bristol, Keats. It is by Mary A. Pearson. On a quest to find her father, Bristol ventures through magical and perilous fey lands and forms an unlikely alliance. The next one is also fantasy. The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst. It is also a debut. Sweet as berry jam, warm as cinnamon rolls, magical as sentient spider plants. This book is as charming as it gets. Another fantasy selection, Where the Library Hides by Isabel Ibanez? Ooh, I'm so sorry, Isabel. And that looks like the same cover as What the River Knows. And I think What the River Knows was by Isabel as well. So that is interesting. Oh, it literally says it's at the same level. Anyway, return to Egypt and watch as our adventurous protagonist seeks justice in this epic follow-up to What the River Knows. So hey, good to know on this one. If you haven't read What the River Knows, you might not want to choose this one. The last audiobook selection is The Book of George by Kate Greathead. Greathead, I think. Close that useless dating app on your phone and open this incisive send-up of half the guys you were swiping on instead. This is literary fiction. Can we take a shot every time I said that it was a fantasy or debut pick? Look, I love fantasy. I have a lot of fantasy books. I don't want all my selections in Book of the Month to be fantasy because there are literal book subscriptions specifically for fantasy. You have Fairy Loot, you have Bookish Box, and there are other ones as well. Those are the two main ones that I can think of off the top of my head. What I have always loved about Book of the Month is you always had a selection in mostly each category. Romance, thriller, fantasy, literary fiction, and generally historical fiction. Sometimes they swap one of those out for contemporary fiction or something else, memoir occasionally. But that was the thing. You always had selections in different categories. And this month, we painstakingly do not have a thriller selection, which for an avid thriller reader and for someone who has gotten most of her Book of the Month books as thrillers, that's like an immediate stop for me, right? Like, ooh, what am I going to pick now? And to have so many fantasies and ones that are in series or follow up to series or whatever, I'm just a little surprised by that choice. I don't know if Book of the Month is catering to a certain audience, like if their audience has changed and maybe now they're catering to book talk or whatever. I don't know if maybe fantasy's really in right now, but just for someone who doesn't really want to read these types of fantasy books right now, right? Like, don't take this the wrong way. I love fantasy. I'm just not in a fantasy mood right now. I am in a thriller mood. It's spooky season or it's gear up for Christmas season. I would have loved to see a Christmas romance in here just to kind of, get you in the mood for the holiday season. But that is just one girl's opinion. Maybe you love these options, and if you do, go at it. I'm personally going to skip this month just because, like I said, the one I would be interested in reading is the hardcover fantasy, The Road of Bones. However, that has been out for a while, so even though it says debut, it's not really debut. And I feel like, again, it's book talk. I may not jive with it, and I have so many books on my TBR that I do not need to get just one more to sit in a pile, right? Like, if I'm not actively going to choose this, I'm going to skip it. With that said, I will quickly browse through their add-ons. I will just kind of put the scroll here of the different add-ons. There's Pictures of You by Emma Gray, Where the Library Hides by Isabel Ibanez, and again, that one you can also get an audiobook. Is She Really Going Out With Him by Sophie Cousins. This is the romance that earlier I was confusing. This is the one I've heard is 5 stars. Haven't read it, but I've heard really good things about it. The Courting of Bristol Keats. Again, you can get that in audiobook. Bloodguard by Cece Robson. I think the cover of that one looks very promising. I don't know anything about it. And if I were to get it, I wouldn't get it through Book of the Month only because I wouldn't want it stamped with the Book of the Month logo. But if you want to read it, Book of the Month has it, so you can add it on for $10. The Last One at the Wedding by Jason Rekuluk. Might be saying that wrong. I've heard about that in the thriller community. I don't have opinions one way or the other. The Stone Witch of Florence by Anna Rash. Again, I think that cover looks promising. They love Sally Rooney over here at Book of the Month. I have not read a single thing by Sally Rooney, but they love her. They always have her books. So they have Intermezzo by Sally Rooney as an add-on this month. They have What Does It Feel Like by Sophie Kinsella. We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. The Bogwife by Kay Chronister. Here One Moment by Leanne Moriarty. And that, Leanne Moriarty wrote another famous book. Let me think. What did Leanne Moriarty write? What was it? I'm blanking, but I want to say it was Big Little Lies, the one that got turned into that Hulu series. I could be wrong, and if I am, I'll put it on the screen here. The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave. I've entered for giveaways for that on Goodreads. If I don't get it, I won't be heartbroken, so, may or may not be good. The Crimson Crown by Heather Walter. The Crimson Crown. That, again, promising cover. Again, if I were getting it, I wouldn't get it through Book of the Month because I don't want the Book of the Month stamp on it. Someone in the Attic by Andrea Mara. Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. That is one that if I were getting a main pick, I would add that one on because I have all his books from Book of the Month, so I don't mind that it has the Book of the Month stamp. And I'm hit and miss with Riley Sager, but I always read his books just in case they're a hit. A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. George. The Book of George by Kate Greathead. Again, that's an audiobook one. Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver. Kayla and I read Butcher and Blackbird, and we were going to do it for the podcast, and we both hated that book so much that we didn't do it. We were in the minority. Everyone else loved it. They loved it. Again, book talk book. Again, it just wasn't my cup of tea. Matt Haig's The Life Impossible, and then the last one is Chloe Gong's latest, Vilest Things. I've not read anything by Chloe Gong, but a lot of people love her fantasy books, so there you go. I am pretty disappointed by this month because I do think their add-ons were good picks, and I think their main selections were not so good picks, and I'm really hoping that it's not a marketing scheme they're developing because you can't get the add-ons for $10 unless you choose a main pick. And I just hope they're not compromising on their main picks to keep their sales up in the sense that you have to purchase a main pick to get the better books. I hope they're not doing that. I hope it was just they had different tastes this month than other people or other than me. I know some people probably really like these selections, so I don't want to dog them too much because they just weren't my cup of tea, and that's okay. But for me, the main November picks just weren't it. I was expecting either a witchy book or a Christmas romance. Like I said, we're gearing up towards Christmas, so I was hoping to get in the holiday spirit. But you know, I will skip this month. I've skipped a lot of months of Book of the Month this year. I actually think I've only gotten maybe like 2 of the months so far. So I've been skipping a lot, but I just, again, my TBR pile is so high that if I'm not desperate to read it right away, it just doesn't make sense to spend the money on a book that's gonna collect dust. If you like these Book of the Month spoiler videos, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you guys chose. I am curious if any of those main picks spoke to you. Again, they didn't speak to me, but I also am pretty picky, and like I pretty much only get thrillers from Book of the Month. So because like if I get a fantasy book, I don't want the Book of the Month stamp on it. So you know, maybe there are things in there, and again, like I don't read memoirs, so maybe you guys were like, heck yeah, this was a great month. So let me know in the comments what you thought. I have filmed so many videos and just not edited them and put them up, but I have finished 6 books in the past 10 days. So I'm gonna put some reviews up here shortly. They're all thriller reviews, and I'm gonna do spoiler and non-spoiler reviews. So that will be coming up hopefully soon. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys back here another day. Bye bye.